The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Live tonight from the Jewel in the Desert, the drivers at Domino's TYJ Racing Dented Fenders Truck Series head in to the second race of a 6-round championship fight for the 2016 TYJ Chase Grid Championship, and ready to rock and roll for the 10th round on the 2016 calendar. We're just moments away from going green flag racing in the Bucky Birt Media with pit stops for Hope 125 from Phoenix International Raceway. All that coverage and more right here next at iRacing Live at LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
While lions are notorious for their voracious appetites, they spend a great deal of time feeding other creatures. In fact, lions will take great care to ensure there's plenty to go around. As you can see, they keep giving with utter ferocity. Bravo, lions, and bon appetit. Do good, be a lion.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the beautiful Avondale, Arizona, and from the virtual Phoenix International Raceway for LSRTV's continuing coverage of the 2016 Domino's TYJ Racing Dented Fenders Truck Series, round number 10. And what's going to be race number 2 of 6 on the TYJ Chase Grid comes to you next from Phoenix International Raceway, and we're happy to have you with us right here on LSRTV at iRacing Live. Evan Pasoko, Tyler Hurd, topside with you at the LSRTV broadcast tower, and as always, our producer Cisco Scarvo is downstairs pushing buttons and bringing us to you this evening. Phoenix, but not your conventional Phoenix. I remember we used to talk about this almost every time we hit this racetrack, Tyler, a couple of years ago now, and it has kind of faded into the rearview mirror. But we are back at the old Phoenix International Raceway, a much more restricted racing lawn, a rougher surface, no dogleg on the back straightaway, and as you and the drivers like to describe it as, this racetrack has a lot of character that they're going to have to deal with tonight for 125 miles.
Oh yeah, going down into these corners there are a lot more bumps than that smooth surface of the 2011 Phoenix with the wide backstretch, but here you have a narrow backstretch through the dogleg there, and through turns 3 and 4, it's a bit flatter than what we've been seeing with the new Phoenix, and as I said before, a lot of bumps, so the drivers are going to have to really handle the trucks here tonight.
Qualifying underway at the moment. 5-minute qualifying session. 2 laps, one at a time for the drivers, and the best lap could have sent you up for your spot on the grid. Let's talk about the championship picture, though, and where we sit coming into tonight, because I mentioned it's race 2 of 6 on the championship, but a little bit of a different format than what you may come to expect from a championship chase grid. Talladega, 1 week ago, we had 18 drivers competitive for a title. The lowest finishing of those 18 drivers was Marcus Potts. He has been eliminated from competition. So the 17 that remain move into tonight, and after tonight's race, the 2 lowest going to be eliminated into Chicago. So while you don't need to win the race, you can't have a bad one.
Yeah, this really puts a lot of pressures on the drivers to try and fight as hard as they can and to minimize mistakes. And coming here to Phoenix, this is a track where mistakes can happen and they can happen quick. So you really got to make sure that at the beginning part here, qualifying, that's going to be key, starting up front and avoiding all that traffic back there, because the further back you are, the bigger chance you have of getting taken out in someone else's mess.
And the big thing, we talked about this especially at the end of the Talladega race, is that we've had so many drivers get close, but only a couple of guys really dominate, with Curtis Young and Michael Fravert taking up 8 wins of the 9 races that we have seen so far. Even one of them who have been so good, because we come into this race with the 17 remaining drivers on an absolute playing field and no advantage from the week prior. You wreck out early, and those 5 trips to victory lane if you're Curtis Young, and those 3 trips to victory lane if you're Michael Favorite, they mean nothing because you need to get through tonight's event from Phoenix. The qualifying 125 laps of racing here tonight on LSRTV. So with that, we'll toss things down trackside with Jaden Berkey for the performance of tonight's national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? And of the free and the home of the
Trucks head to the track for the start of tonight's round number 10 event, the Bucky Birt Media with pit stops for Route 125. Let's take a look at your Domino's TYJ starting grid. Pole position tonight, no surprise. Curtis Young with 27.839. He'll roll from pole with Ray Richard at the outside of the front row starting in second. Len McNeese going to start in the number 3 spot with Ryan Stoniker in P4 to the outside of row 2. Justin Anderson rounds out your top 5 in qualifying.
Chuck Dix will roll off the field in 6th place. Marcus Potts will start 7th. Steve Cunningham 8th. Judd Danielson rolls off the grid in 9th position. And Mike Donahue will roll off in 10th place.
Back on row number 6, P11 tonight, going to go to Derek Fisher. Kevin Fettigan 12th with Gary Brown 13th. Dennis Cook in the number 14 spot. Joshua Ramos rounds out your top 15.
The 14 of Gary Weston will roll off in the 16th position. Bobby Jonas 17th. Philip Meyer in the 17 will roll off in 18th. Patrick Elhofer will start in 19th. And outside of row number 10, David Gainforth in the 101.
Final couple of trucks to take a qualifying time tonight. 21st, Chad Payne, Bucky Birt 22nd, Tyler Robertson 23rd, with David May, Michael Fravor getting provisionals P24 and 25.
And rounding out the field here, we have Robert McFarland, James Somke, Mark Fravert, Eric Hawk, Russ Coe, and Gerald Heffley. The rest of the field not taking time here. Rounding out your 31 car grid.
And to look at your Domino's starting lineup. We're about set to get round number 10 underway, and most importantly, the second race in the chase for the championship. And we're happy that you're with us on this Thursday evening right here on LSRTV and iRacing. Young inside row number 1. They'll come out for the final quarter. Green flag in the air and underway from Phoenix International Raceway. Side by side to turn number 1 for the first time tonight. Polster on the inside, but top sight. How about the 44 with the advantage? Side by side and almost together coming out of turn 2.
Real early and almost fireworks at the front of the field as Ray Richard dives it into turn number 1 on the outside. He grabs the lead. Caution out on the racetrack.
Problems on the opening lap. We saw how tight it got for your leaders, and it got even tighter back in the pack. Problems for the Budweiser Chevrolet. Tyler Roberts coming off of quarter number 2, really behind the majority of the action, and went down into the corner and I'm not sure what happened with that machine. It looked like almost that the car had broken loose, almost as if it had gotten hit, but I think he may have been playing around with some of the shifting in that truck because he really didn't make a turn into the corner. It is a noticeable dogleg on the backstretch title, but really to the corner, I think, would upset the handling on that truck. I think he might have maybe run into fourth gear early, shift down to third or something, and into that turn, the truck just broke around, came to a complete stop in the corner. Luckily, everybody else was able to go low and get around it.
You know, looking at this, it almost actually looks like his brakes just locked up completely because it's just a slide and he comes to a complete stop, so I'm not sure if that might have been a mechanical failure with the brakes.
Whatever the cause may be, he is headed down trackside, and his night is done. He has already taken a Budweiser machine behind the wall. After practicing P28, qualifying in 23rd, he'll have to settle for shotgun on the field in 30th. A couple of trucks going to trickle down for the back of the pack, committed for some service. Do want to note that out of the 31 cars we listed on our Domino starting lineup, 30 of them took the green flag. David May going to get the DNS in this one after finishing 19th in the practice session. Does have the option to get on the racetrack and compete if he wants, but right now that truck is not out on the racetrack. It looks like he will not compete in tonight's contest. So we now sit with 29 trucks left. I mentioned a couple of people trickle in for the back. No pitch strategy this early though for your race leaders, just at lap number 3 of 125.
Yeah, it looks like down on pit road a few more stragglers all trying to get the last place position, it almost looks like, just so that they're trying to save the trucks for later on in the race, but still up front, plenty of trucks staying out. The number 44 of Ray Richer is still your leader as they double him up. Pace car lights are out, so it's one lap to go until green again.
The good news for these guys, and I think good news for the longevity of this race, is caution cycles not going to be all that long. Again, the caution flag did come out at lap number 1, just three laps later, rather. Pace car going to knock down after lap number 4, and we'll go back green flag racing with still 121 laps to go. Up front, not a whole lot of changes, except for the number 44, Ray Richer, had a nose in front of Curtis Young, but a caution flag came out. He'll go to the inside of the front row. The 19 goes to the outside. Could this work out, though, for Curtis Young? Because Richard started to his outside, which was technically P2 in qualifying, but ended up having the better run down into turn number 1. We'll find out. Stjanaker McNeese round out row number 2, and Justin Anderson inside of the top. To the inside, green flag in the air, and they all check up as he does not get going. Huge advantage for Young at the start-finish line.
And here comes Ray Richer. He's putting it in. He's washing up. He gets in.
Sideways, coming off a 2. He'll spin and into the inside fence. Goes a 44 of Richer. No caution. We stay green up at the front of the field. That, Tyler, identical to what happened in turn 1 the first time. Except that time, the 44 was topside. Young got up into him, and that's what got the 19 loose and gave the race lead to the 44. This does not work out, though, for the Amsoil Chevrolet. He'll fall way down the ladder and give Curtis Young a second advantage now at lap number 6, with Len McNeese now occupying P2.
And to add insult to injury to that self-spin right there, Ray Richer, he now has a little bit of left front damage, but up front, Curtis Young, he's starting to open up a gap on the field. Over a second lead already, and it's only been about 3 laps green flag racing with Len McNeese right behind him. Followed right behind him is Marcus Potts in the 2, your driver that was eliminated 2 weeks ago at Talladega.
Where does he end up after all of this? 29th position, last on the lead lap. He just makes a move around the 420 of Rusco for the 28th position, but it's still a long way to go for Richer way back in the pack. And now that Curtis Young is broken free, take a look at a couple of the battles that are forming up inside of the top 10. Side by side for 7th, Mike Donahue way up the racetrack. Judd 85, Chevy to the inside, and they're going to be door-to-door coming at it too.
Yeah, that last restart, I saw Mike Donahue on the inside line. There was a big stack up, and Mike Donahue pulled down to the left side on the inside lane and just had to ease off the throttle there to stave off a black flag, because if he would have passed that car, he would have had to come down pit road, serve a penalty, but he had the wherewithal to really back out of it and just realized that the race is still a long way to go, and he saved himself a headache there early.
It's all about making it throughout the course of this race. Curtis Young now continues to pull away about a tenth or two quicker every single time by. He comes around this Phoenix International Raceway start-finish on, which is on the start-finish straight. Now 1.6 seconds in front of P2. Ludwig Nies still there. The IC machine under attack here. Coming out of turn 2, they'll throw it down into the dog leg at 10 degrees of banking. Head off to turns 3 and 4. Inside. Either.
Yeah, it looks like Marcus Potts is going to get the run off the corner. He's going to clear the 84 of Len McNeese as they cross the line. Marcus Potts in the 2, move him up to P2, and Len McNeese down to position number 3. And
sideways
Marcus
for the
Potts.
2 and in the fence. Same spot. We saw issues happen with the contact between your race leaders. Loose on the inside of the racetrack. Caution flag now going to fly, as I believe the 2 may have come up close enough to the racetrack. The trigger yellow will take a peek around PIR, see if there was anybody else involved in any issues. But I believe that caution flag was out for that issue. And then after the caution flag, Derek Fisher spins out in turn 3. The 13 machine around. That was after the yellow was displayed.
yeah, it just looks... And with the 13 there, it looks like everyone started checking up, and the 13 had to get on the brakes a lot harder for the checkup. Under caution, just loops it down on the grass there. He might lose a bunch of positions, but Marcus Potts had a very similar episode there as the 44 had on the restart, so that's going to drop him far behind in this position in the running.
Yeah, and more people going to come down pit road, except this time your race leader's in for the first time. Service going to be completed up at the front of the field. Ludwig Nies going to stay out from P2, go to the race lead, but I think almost every other truck is in behind race leader Curtis Young as he goes down to the number 1 pit stall for service tonight. Do we see any 2-tire strategy, or does everybody decide to go with 4 fresh Goodyear Wranglers?
Well, right now, Curtis Young, he hits his pit stall perfectly. The right sides are going up, so it's going to be at least a 2-tire stop for him. Right side is down, he's still in the stall. Left side's up, so it's going to be a 4-tire stop for the number 19 of Curtis Young. He's going to be the first driver off by a mile here. And the next driver is Steve Cunningham, still a 4-tire strategy, along with Ryan Steinecker, rounding out the top 3 coming off of pit road. But your lone driver staying out, Len McNeese in that 84 truck. We're going to see if he might want to opt to come down right now because everyone else has, but he's staying out on the track.
Yeah, I think he's almost forced into that position now. If he was somebody back in the pack who just wanted to get a bonus point lap led, he would have been able to come down this time, but I think no reason to give up a P2 for a singular bonus point. Even if you're substantially slower than Curtis Young, I don't think it's worth 1 bonus point to then drop back in the pack, because 1 bonus point's not going to be the big difference maker. Losing all those positions is when you talk about trying to get the solid finish here tonight, because again, position-based results here, very important as well for all of the drivers involved in the championship fight, because if you're in the bottom 2 of the 17 chase-eligible truck drivers in tonight's contest, you're going to be eliminated from the chase before you get an opportunity to head to Chicagoland in 2 weeks' time for the 3rd race of 6. So McNeese going to stay out. He goes to the point in this race, old tires versus fresh tires. I'll say that conservatively, considering that he has about maybe 8 green flag tires. I still feel like that's going to be enough to give the 19 a big advantage, especially because the 19 is going to be to the outside of the front row. The question is, Tyler, can the leaders stay off each other for a restart? We've seen 2 times we've dropped the green flag, one at the start of this race and one American Ethanol green flag off of a restart on the last and first yellow flag up until this one, and they both led to contact coming out of turns 1 and 2. That is not good news if you're McNeese on the inside trying to get through there cleanly.
Yeah, with Phoenix here, the truck's just going to keep pushing and pushing, and more often than not, you have a guy on your outside there, and you got to let out in order to keep the contact from happening, but we've seen these guys try and stick it through there, and it came back and bit the 44 earlier. We're going to have to keep an eye on the 84, see if it happens to him.
It's almost like those freeway on-ramps that aren't a perfect curve, so you got to keep adjusting the wheel. It's the same. It's almost a laxed entry to turn one. You get some encouragement, and it gets really tight coming off of the corner. You got to stay up on the wheel. You have to wait before you can get back to the gas. We're going to drop the green flag. Second time tonight off of a caution flag. The field cycles at a turn number 4. In control is Len McNeese. Green flag in the air, and they're all going to check up on the inside down to turn 1, side by side for the race lead. McNeese bottom, Young top side. The 19 working on the fresher tires. He'll try to pull coming off of the corner, side by side down the back.
A very clean restart there, got a little close exiting turn number 2, but still they kept a gap between them. Len McNeese getting his left sides on that yellow line, almost spins it around there, and here comes Curtis Young, and Ryan Steinacker gives him a shove down the front stretch, but Curtis Young now goes to the point here at Phoenix on lap 17.
I'll give credit to McNeese, though. He gave him a whale of a fight on that one lap off of the restart, but I think the inevitability came true. And Young out in the clean air before Ryan Steinecker is going to be able to get to P2 around McNeese. It should give Young a good opportunity to try to pull away in this one. Outside of the battle for the race lead, things were calm inside the top 5 off of the restart. Side by side for the back, the 54, Dennis Cook. The 23 and Gary Brown do battle for P9. The 23 Chevrolet get it up to the inside, and in front of them, more side by side as Chuck Dix to the inside. Real tight in the center of 1 and 2, but the MGD Chevy Donahue topside with the advantage of that fight for 7.
Yeah, some very heads-up driving there by the 99 to keep it off the 70, and everyone seems to be filtering out now, trying to get themselves settled in, but there's a battle for P number 2 here between Ryan Steinacker and, position number 3, Ryan Steinacker and Judd Danielson, and it looks like Judd Danielson is the one that's challenging for the position, but he cannot get it out of turn number 2, and here comes the 86 of Steve Cunningham trying to take it on the outside.
Yeah, outside of the racetrack seems to be the place to be, at least down in turns number 1 and 2. He plays chaser right now, up 3 spots after starting 8th, running P5 at a moment. And Judd Danielson going to pave the way to the inside, side by side. Steinecker on the outside of the racetrack, door to door, as they head down to the dog leg. This battle 2 seconds behind your leader. Inside advantage to the back part of the racetrack, going to easily give Danielson the position. He takes over the number 3 spot. And now here comes Steve Cunningham at the bottom as well. Everybody trying to jump all over the 48 as Steinecker, but a great run off of 4. HQ.com Chevrolet to maintain P4.
Yeah, and a little side note with Ryan Steinacker here tonight. He has a little bit of front end damage when he got into the back of Len McNeese earlier, but with how boxy these trucks are to begin with, that's not really going to affect the aero or handling or speed all that much, but just something to keep an eye on in the later stages of this race in case temperatures start to climb in that 48. That could spell some very bad news for his engine and his chase hopes as well if that engine goes.
Race leader Curtis Young 2 seconds in front of the paddling that we're talking about that is now single file and calm for just a brief moment inside of the top 10. A little bit of a challenge towards the back of the top 10. Chuck Dix, Dennis Cook, and Gary Brown, 8th through 10th position, very tight together. But in fact, you can say that 4th position through 8th position, still within 2 seconds of each other, although they are single file. Everybody really tight, and it can encourage somebody to make a move like that one. Dix to the inside in 1. Left side tires on the yellow line. We saw McNeese do that when he tried to hold off Young. It didn't work. Dix got sideways, not going to matter. Caution flag back out at lap number 23, and Bucky Birt's around on the front.
Yeah, Bucky Birt looks like coming out of turn number 4, he just had too much wheel into it. The back end comes around, and he just tries to get it load up there, but just makes slight contact with the inside wall and bounces the back of the truck around to pull out the caution.
Well, it's interesting how slow these accidents are happening at. He hits the wall at just maybe 46 miles an hour, so he had it locked up. trying to get it slowed down in time. That truck did have a little bit of damage on it, so I'm not sure if that Toyota Tundra found some issues earlier in that run that we didn't see. It may have led to the handling issues coming off of turn 4, but he turned the wheel all the way to the right. That car just would not come back around on him, and he slowly kind of skidded down to the inside fence. So we're back where we started before that last caution cycle. Curtis Young to the race lead. The no tire call by Len McNeese, not good enough to maintain the point, but it's good enough to keep him right back at a P2 where he was, and they're back down.
And it looks like the 70 of Mike Donahue is calling the audible here. He is staying out on track, the only one to do so, while all the other leaders come down pit road. He must have been taking notes from Len McNeese's crew, as we saw him only lose 1 position overall from staying out. So no tire is not a bad call with only about 8 laps difference on him.
The leaders coming down pit road, left side tire is going to go up, as well as the right's already completed, and I don't think much of a surprise. It's going to be a 4-tire call. Danielson challenges McNeese, going to be able to still win the battle for P2 off of the pit lane. John Danielson going to come off 3rd, and again 1, 2, 3 off of the pit lane. Going to end up being, I believe, 3, 4, and 5 on the racetrack, because Mike Donahue stayed out, as you noted, and then also for the middle of the pack, Bobby Jonas stayed out from P12. He will duck down pit road this time, and it would give Curtis Young the outside of the front row for the second restart in a row. So Donahue, the one calling the audible. Well, I did say that we weren't really surprised to see 4 tires in service completed this time, just as we saw the last time, Tyler. If we only see 4 tires, surprised, because if Len McNeese is your guinea pig, he stays out, takes no tires, and is able to maintain a P2 running order, that I don't think it's crazy to think taking a 2-tire stop for somebody mid-pack wouldn't do good for him.
Well, it's always a gamble taking the 2 tires there, but I just sort of feel like with this tire model here, I don't think 2 tires is going to be a very good call to make, because the difference in the pressures, the difference in the heat, it's just going to react so much differently to how the truck's going to handle, and I don't think a lot of guys have practiced 2-tire calls here throughout the practice session here, so it's a bit of an unpredictability as to what's going to happen with that call. So the safe bet and the sure bet is to go 4 tires or no tires. I just don't believe in a 2-tire call getting it done here tonight.
Lights on top of the pace car are going to go out that time around. They've also been extinguished around the virtual Phoenix International Raceway, so we get set to go back into green flag race in action again. This restart going to come with 27 laps behind us, 98 laps to go in the Bucky Birt Media with pit stops for Hope 125, brought to you in part by the Bucky Birt Show, airing on Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern from Charleston. Listen to all the NASCAR talk from last week and hear the info from the insiders of the sport. Check it out at BuckyBirtRadio.com. Donahue to the bottom of the race. Talked about some of the more exciting encounters in turn 1 that we've seen so far on the evening. Job done. He has to wait till the green flag drops coming out of the restart box. It's going to be hard for him to get any advantage to the 19 on the fresher rubber. The pace car down and away. Green flag waves and back underway. 98 laps still to go, and row number 2 offers a lot of support for the top 2 spots in turn 1.
Len McNeese was pushing the back end of the set. It's 3 wide out of turn number 2 between the 85-70 and 84. Judd Danielson, the big winner there, and they're looking to make it 3 wide again, but Steve Cunningham thinks better of it. Len McNeese, left side tires below the yellow line there, entering turn number 3 as he's racing side by side for Donahue for 3rd as the top 2 drive away.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Young goes to P1. Judd Danielson, now in the number 2 spot. And I think for Donahue there, it's exactly what we were talking about after that first attempt at a restart there. He got back to the gas too early. But again, that corner tightens up. The turning radius to the backstretch a lot more severe than it is into the corner. from the front straightaway, got back to the gas. That truck just went straight up the hill. He checked it up, but I think he's lucky to still be third because he almost got tagged on, and they were just about 3 wide and trying to split him. So he maintains that running position. Len McNeese behind, still trying to get around, and Stoniker 2 spots behind them in a side-by-side fight. Steve Cunningham trying to hang on to P5, about half a truck length off, though, down the back.
Yeah, Steve Cunningham has been trying to work that outside line since the restart. Hasn't been able to get down, but the outside line is really starting to come in here through 3 and 4 as he's going to be able to clear the 48 as they reach the line here. So Steve Cunningham now has the number 5 position as they head down to turn number 1, and it's still just single file stacked up behind that 70 truck here as the top 2 are still just driving away.
And they're starting to stack up a little bit here behind Donahue. Inside, going to be the place that they look to strike first. McNeese to the bottom, side by side for third, and almost waiting, wanting to find a way around them behind is Steve Cunningham. Looks high, looks low, can't go anywhere. Track's blocked, 2 wide, a lot slower than the 86, but he runs his preferred line, so he's got to wait till somebody wins this fight. Then finally, coming off at the corner, Len McNeese going to win the battle for third, and he goes at Cunningham for P4. Going to get squeezed down to the curb, down the back straightaway. A defensive line from Donahue, not going to keep Cunningham off his inside.
And a lot of aggressive driving by these guys early in this race. It's almost like nobody told them that they're trying to compete for chase positions here. And the 70 almost took the nose off the 86 down that back straightaway. And Steve Cunningham is still trying to find a way around. And here comes Kevin Fetty to challenge the 86 for position, as the 70 is maintaining his no-tire call.
Yeah, doing a good job of hanging on for the most part. Felder P4, Cunningham wasn't able to get by, and the 86 really can't get back up to him because, as you mentioned, he's got the 48, the Penske Truck Rentals machine of Stoniker right up on his left rear quarter panel, but the inside really not working all that well. I'd almost argue topside the place to be because now you see to the outside comes the 48 machine Stoniker trying to get to the inside of that Kevin Fetty entry, the number 94, who rides the yellow line all the way around the racetrack, but single file as they go right now, nonetheless. Inside of the top 5, inside the top 10, in fact, P1 through 20 in a single file line for the time being.
It looks like Steve Cunningham, was trying to make a move. There goes Ryan Steinacker in the 48.
Caution, get a wave, coming out of turns 1 and 2 once again. More problems with loose handling race trucks, and this time it bites the MyOfficeHQ.com machine. The 48 Ryan Stoniker down into the corner. I think he drove it in with a little bit of intent, trying to get to the inside of maybe the 94 of Kevin Fetty in front of him, and he just lost the handle off of the corner. And again, not a case where Tyler, he goes up to the fence and hits the fence and spins out, or gets really close to the fence and spins out. He's in the middle of the racetrack. The truck just breaks traction. You can't get it back.
Yeah, and that's a product of having way too much wheel in the truck. He's trying to get it to turn, and as he exits the corner, that transition from corner to straightaway, it just brings the back end around. That's just a product of a tight handling race truck, which is, for the most part, if you don't know, it's a pretty common occurrence here.
We've seen a lot of it at that end of the racetrack tonight. We've also seen it coming out of turn 4 with the accident with Bucky Birt earlier on. So pit road open once again, a relatively short green flag stint once again, but about on par with what we have seen so far tonight. That would indicate that they want service, and they come back down. Curtis Young going to bring us down to the number 1 stall. Couple of trucks stay out from deeper in the field, expecting 4 tires.
And the number 19 of Curtis Young, he hits his pit stall perfectly. The 1984, both right side tires up at the same time. Left side's up on the 19 as well. And it looks like a few 2-tire calls there between the 17 and the 85, I believe. But Curtis Young, he still wins the race off of pit road. But Judd Danielson and Philip Meyer, that's going to be your top 3 leaving pit road.
Yeah, Danielson going to go with, I believe, 4. We do have a 2-tire stop, though, as you mentioned, with the 17 of Philip Meyer, who was running back in at the time of caution, back at about the number 8 position. He'll leapfrog his way to 3rd out of pit road, John Danielson 2nd out of pit road, and Curtis Young, your race leader, coming out of the pits over this time by the drivers that stay out. Ray Richard, the number 44 Chevrolet, to the lead. Marcus Potts going to go to P2. Gerald Heffley going to go to 3rd. Most trucks we've seen stay out after your leaders have pitted so far on the evening. We've seen 1 truck stay out 2 times. 3 drivers are out in front of the field. They may be coming down pit side, though, before we go back green. A little bit of damage, especially on the 2 Machina Pots. But for the moment, they occupy all 3 podium positions.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to point out here, the 44 and the 2, we saw them both break loose out of turn number 2 there, with the 44 from the lead even on a restart, and if this happens again right in front of the field, this could be disaster for everybody.
Yeah, we've talked about how maybe not necessarily the restart portion of the restarts, as strange as it sounds to say that, coming out of turn 4, getting on the gas. Just whenever you're side by side in 1, try to make a move on somebody, and it's almost a truth or dare, and they're daring you to get back to the gas coming off the corner. And again, you got to sit on it, you got to wait, especially getting around that many trucks, which not to speak to the drivers themselves, but trucks that have been slow for the majority of the night. In the case of Heffley, the 24th in the practice, didn't take a queue time, to be fair, so did start back at 31st. You do have Ray Richard, who started this race in 2nd, but again, he stays out on old tires. And then you look at Marcus Potts, a decently fast truck, involved in an accident earlier, and with some pretty severe damage on his Silverado. There is concern to look to try to get around these guys.
Yeah, and with Curtis Young here, you want to be patient, but you have a bunch of guys right behind you that are hungry to take away that lead from him. The 85, the 84, the 17, and we're going to see if they can actually get around him here on this restart. Pace car is in, green flag is out, race is back underway.
Side by side for rows 1 and 2, P1 through 4, down to turn number 1 for the race lead. Outside for the 2 of Potts, inside for the 44 of Richard. And again, you just can't get back to the gas down low. And huge run top side. Potts going to go to the race lead, and Curtis Young going to follow through and battle for the race lead. So that worked out perfectly for the 19. He'll swing to the inside as Potts gets sideways in 3. He'll come down and collect the field.
Big wreck in turns 3 and 4, almost the entire field getting some sort of damage except for the 19 who was ahead of it. And right there, I said it right before the restart, could be bad, and the 2 of Marcus Potts just gets into a wiggle, and the 17, 84, 54, 28, so many others involved. It's might be easier to say who wasn't involved in that wreck.
Yeah, it was the concern that we had, and it was working out good for Curtis Young, and unfortunately, again, the 2 broke traction, and you just don't get traction back when you break sideways. We've seen that so far tonight, and that's a lot of fast trucks that stayed out, and trucks that played the strategy right, took 4 tires, doing everything right, collected when they had nowhere to go. We'll break it down for you in a moment. Curtis Young, though, going to stay out 41 laps in and continue to lead tonight's Bucky Birt Media with pit stops for 125 from Phoenix International Raceway. Watching out. Flag of our own. Step aside for just a brief moment and back for the restart when we return.
While lions are notorious for their voracious appetites, they spend a great deal of time feeding other creatures. In fact, lions will take great care to ensure there's plenty to go around. As you can see, they keep giving with utter ferocity. Bravo, lions, and bon appetit. Do good, be a lion.
Welcome back live to Phoenix International Raceway as LSRTV's coverage of the Domino's TYJ Racing Dented Fenders Truck Series continues tonight for round number 10. And the Bucky Birt Media with pit stops for Hope 125 from Avondale, Arizona. Tonight's coverage brought to you in part by Pit Stops for Hope. Together, we can work to wipe out childhood hunger. Donate today at pitstopsforhope.org. Lights off on top of the pace car. We get set to go back. Green flag racing. Curtis Young, race leader. Outside of the front row, the 44 of Ray Richer inside it. Get a double of upside by side just as such as we get set to go back at green flag racing conditions. 44 laps in.
Yeah, now this really changed hands here with some drivers now moving up in the field. The 13 of Mark Favorite. Haven't talked about him yet tonight. He's going to restart in 6th position, but the big story here, Curtis Young going to restart P number 1, but on the outside. I think he's learned that the outside is the place to be. Pace car is down on pit road. Green flag in the air, and Curtis Young leads him back to the green. And it looks like Ray Richer, he's going to try to give him a little bit of a run, but the outside is way too strong. And the 19 of Curtis Young, he's going to drive away off of turn number 2.
5 car lengths down to the dog leg. Problems behind, though. Caution flag and wave. The 41 of Robert McFarland involved and into the inside fence. The 17 of Philip Meyer. Caution flies. 44 laps in. And that one stemmed from some contact in the middle of turn 1. Talked about the issues going inside by side. And again, the 41 on the inside just gotten in a little bit hot. Pushed up. 17 wasn't giving him a whole lot of room, but he still had enough space on the inside to make it work. He just drove it in a little bit hot, tagged him once, and then wasn't able to keep off him a second time, but in fact spun himself out, trying to avoid that second piece of contact. McFarland and as well behind Meyer involved in this caution flag.
And a great job by Meyer to keep it out of the inside wall there. He stopped just inches short, but that's still going to hurt him as far as track position, although he was back in the field there some as well, and he's now 1 lap down for the 17, so tough night for Philip Meyer so far.
And this one, again, such a short run. We've been talking about how we've been seeing our leaders come down pit road almost every single time. Now we've been working on about 10 lap or so green flag stretches, just a couple of corners into this restart, and the contact stems from such. So with that being said, I don't think it's much of a surprise that your leaders don't come down pit road this time. They want tires, sure. They really don't need tires after about 15 seconds of use. So that's why the guys up front stay out. You're always going to see people at the back trickle down, people getting service, people at the back of the pack coming in just to get tires, just to top off. And in case the green flag stretch breaks out, you never know what position that might put you in a strategy conversation. But at the moment, your leaders stay out. Curtis Young in the number 1 position. You see Philip Meyer in front. Philip Meyer, rather, his machine going to stay out, take the wave by, scored 29th position.
Yeah, and with the guys coming back down, they might also be trying to fix a little bit of damage. And the other thing to keep in mind, the fuel game here tonight, 75% here in these trucks, so you're going to have about 3/4 of a full tank. That might play a little bit into a strategy call later in the race if this goes green. So there's coming to about 75 laps to go. Still need 1 more stop in order to make it on fuel, but who knows, later on it could be a close call there and somebody could steal this win away by staying out the longest.
Yeah, we talk about, field strategy in this one. You have to remember, well, a lot has happened in this race. Only 2 drivers who started inside of the top 10 right now Rod still in some good positions. In fact, there's more drivers who started top 10 outside the top 10 than inside at the moment. There's been plenty of issue, but again, I think the second most recent one, the big one down in 3 and 4, a primary cause for that, because it did happen right in front of the field. It was almost a 50-50 split on if you were up front, if you were going to find an opening and get through, or if you were going to be collected in that one and have your night cut short early. Wade by goes by. Lights are out on top of the pace car. We get set to do it again once more. Just 49 laps in of 125 tonight. Still 20 shy of halfway.
Yeah, and just a quick shout out to one of the drivers here, Eric Hawk in the number 20. He didn't take a time. He started this race in the 29th position. A little bit of damage on the rear there, but he's driven his way all the way up to 12th place, so that's a net gain of 17 positions, so pretty good gain for that 20 truck.
He'll look to continue the march forward as he sits right now plus 17 on the night and is the biggest mover so far through 49 laps of contest. The pace car getting it back down and away. We cycle off at a corner, come and take the green flag. Back and away we go. Good jump. Even a better one from behind, though, as 3-1 goes up on the inside of Ray Richer, who falls back to third, but Curtis Young maintains at a 2.
Yeah, the 85, a great restart, timed it perfectly, stayed on the back bumper of the 19, and look at how aggressive he's driving that truck right now. He's diving it down to those corners real deep, but Curtis Young, he gets a better run off the corners here. And going down into turn number 1, just look at that 85 close up within a truck length, but right there, the number 19, he's able to get back on the gas, get a better run off, but right now there's a battle behind them for the 3rd and 4th position here, and here comes Mark Fravert, brother of Michael Fravert in the 13, trying to see if he can't size up Ray Richer in the 44 there for 4th.
P4 still within striking distance of the point, but not going to be able to get up into that spot quite yet. 13 Fisher remains in behind Ray Richer for the time being. He, in fact, might have to worry a little bit more about Gary Brown behind him instead of Richer in front. The 23 doing a good job of closing that gap down to half a car length in 3 and 4.
Yeah, Gary Brown, he just drives it in on the outside of the number 13 of Derek Fisher. Sorry for the mix-up there earlier. But the 23 of Gary Brown, he gets the position at the line. He's going to be holding the outside in 1 and 2. And Gary Brown, the 23, he's going to move himself up to P5 here in this race, right behind the 44 of Ray Richer.
So Richer trying to get away. The Amsoil machine started second. He's been hanging out all night long. I want to talk about Kevin Fetty for a minute. The 94 in third, up a fair amount of spots, up 9 from the start of this race. But it almost seems like he's been up front for the better part of it. He didn't take long to make up those spots. It's going to get harder and harder to the past trucks the higher you get in the running order. He's within a second of the race leader. Somebody's spinning behind. Caution flag is out. Down to turn 1. Looks like issues on the front straightaway for the Haviland 28 and Gerald Heffley.
Yeah, we saw Gerald Heffley earlier there. Looks like, oh, he just barely got tagged by the 84. Just looks like he tried to make a move there and came up too soon and just got turned.
Yeah, you know, you look at it at a first look and you might think he got hooked, but I think you're exactly right. Now, the 84 might have been much further off the wall than he was expecting. I think that's fair to say. The 84 was a car length off the fence, but the 84 was running the regular line. He was following the 9 machine. I think the 8 just cut it a little bit too close, and that little bit of contact was enough to get him way out of control. He wasn't able to hang on. Pretty hard hit as well.
Yeah, what hurts more there is the 84, he was damaged from that big wreck. He was probably a little bit slower, and the 28 was just trying to get around, make up more positions, but just that little bit of impatience has cost him a lot now.
And he's going to limp his way back around to the pit lane, now scored in 27th position.
Yeah, leading the charge is still Curtis Young as he gets down to his pit stall there, stops perfectly in the box. Right behind him, the 44 Go Fast energy drink truck, and there are the left sides up left sides go down, and Curtis Young, he still maintains the top spot. 85 of Judd Danielson maintains second, and third Kevin Fetty. So your top three do not change after those rounds of pit stops.
Yeah, first change for a position back in 7th, where Steve Cunningham going to give up that position to Mike Donahue off of the pit lane. And again, no surprise there. Your leader's pretty much in agreement with what is required. 4 tires and Sunoco race fuel and back out on track. So we take a look at where we sit now in this race. 157 of those 125. So in 5 laps from now, we'll take the cross flags. We'll stop counting up. We'll start counting down. We'll give you your iRace at Midway race break and talk about some of the keys to the race if you want to walk away in victory lane after the next 62 laps of action going to be completed at that point. But at least for the moment, still in the opening half of this race. And Curtis Young, who I think it's not really controversial to say has the best truck, just wants these guys to get on with it.
Yeah, but, you know, we haven't seen them run more than 10 laps of green here, so who knows who exactly has the best long run truck. And throughout practice I've been trying to see who's been making longer runs. Kevin Fetty in that 94 truck, he's the one during practice that made the most laps that I've seen out of the top 10, trying to see what his truck is gonna do on older tires throughout this race. So if it comes down to a tire wear situation, Kevin Fetty might be the one to beat because he knows what's going to happen.
Lights on top of the pace car go up. We do it all again. I think the biggest concern for somebody like a Curtis Young here is the fact that he does have a good truck, and the question, as you mentioned, of a long green flag stretch longevity in the truck is still in question. He has a good enough truck where, as they're running right now, if this continues to be the pace of the race to the end, he could win this race. The issue is, as you saw with all those leaders who got junked a couple of restarts ago, every single time there's a restart, you give yourself an opportunity to make another mistake, and you also give the people around you an opportunity to make a mistake, and it puts you in an extremely vulnerable position. I think he started to figure out, though, outside the place to be. Second time in a row, your race leader going to elect to go to the outside of the front row, and Judd Danielson, therefore, going to be put in the tricky spot of restarting on the inside, and may just have trouble enough hanging on the P2. Coming to the restart. Pace car going to duck down and away. The green flag and away from the flag stand. Green flag back and away from Phoenix.
Side by side as they cross the line, Curtis Young, he's still going to have the advantage going into turn number 1, but Judd Danielson, he's making a on the inside, but here comes Curtis Young on the outside. This is the closest that Curtis Young has had to contend with another driver for a while here, but it gets single file pretty quickly as there's a tight battle behind them. Truck 70 and 86 battling side by side there for position number 8.
And the move by the 86 to the inside, a nice one. Cunningham going to sweep to the inside of Mike Donahue after he got cleared coming off at a final turn. Big run for the top side, though. Donahue going to continue with the advantage, enough to get clear in turn 3. Yeah, the 86 going to drive it really in hard and try to force that issue. 1.5 seconds off of the top spot. Coming out of turn 4, second time in a row, Donahue clears him.
Yeah, Mike Donahue using that outside line to his advantage. That middle line through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 seems to be the place to be when you want to pass somebody, but when you're single file, just hitting that apex on the bottom there is the fastest way around here. But looking at all the traffic in front of you, you're just trying to search for where guys aren't just to see if you can't get a little bit of advantage.
We go on board with the 23 of Gary Brown. Take a ride around the Phoenix International Raceway. You can see how he's got to sit and wait till he can get back to the gas. Line it up and take almost a short shoot from the inside up to the outside fence coming off of the turn, and he'll follow Richard all the way down. It's a very tight track as well, close quarters here at Avondale, Arizona, the Jewel in the Desert. Again, this is the older version of Phoenix International Raceway in comparison to the repay version that's available on the iRacing service. A little bit of a throwback, if you will, here tonight. And these guys happy to work with those tight conditions and no option to jump down to the apron and get some extra space. So, while it is a mile in length, it is very much a short track in the race. And like it tonight, problems just as Young started to pull away. Looks like Dennis Cook has got up against the fence.
Yeah, the 54 of Dennis Cook, it looks like him and Gerald Heffley again just pushed up the racetrack, and 54 got underneath the 28.
Wow. And that's a new one, 28 jacked up in the air. Another case, though, where turn 4, second time in a row, Tyler, we've seen somebody go side by side and think they're clear before or just misjudge the corner. And that one, though, was much more spectacular contact than the first time around.
Yeah, it almost reminded me of Auto Club a few years ago in the Sprint Cup races with, I believe, it was either Casey Kane or Casey Mears getting lifted up off the ground right there.
And 28 comes back down on all 4 tires. He'll be able to drive it down to the pit lane, but it does slow us down once again. Your leader's going to come down. We're past halfway, though, so we'll take this opportunity to step aside for another brief moment. We'll come back with your iRacing Midway Race Break. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the Domino's TYJ Racing Dented Fenders Truck Series. We welcome you back live to Phoenix International Raceway. Out in front of the field is Gary Brown. He leads in the Bucky Birt Media with pit stops for Hope 125, part of the Domino's TYJ Racing Dented Fenders Truck Series at LSRTV with continuing coverage and iRacing Live, brought to you by Domino's. With Domino's new Pizza the Pie rewards, you can earn a free pizza after just 6 online orders of $10 or more. Sign up at www.dominos.com/rewards. Domino's, oh yes, we did. Lights off on top of the pace car. Gonna go back at green flag racing conditions. Brown, Richer, the new drivers on the front row, 4 tires. Tyler, row 2 on back. That's where we'll find Young to the inside, Danielson to the outside, 3-4.
Yeah, if this is a place where we can see a change of the guard for the number 19 being up front, it could be this restart here. Judd Danielson, the 85, has the advantage of restarting on the side and having fresher 4 tires than the 2 in front of him.
Pace car makes a sharp left-hand turn down and away. They retool the restart box. American Ethanol, green flag, back in the air, outside. Brown going to lead to turn 1. How long do those old tires last? 85 going to be the first one to challenge as Young is stuck almost with a pick on the inside of the racetrack. He might force it 3 wide. No, he can't get around the 44, and Danielson jets off the second.
Yeah, Curtis Young really wanted to go 3 wide there, but now he's back into 5th place, the furthest back he's been all night, so he's going to have to be careful here, but He's just going to go 3 wide for third place, but he backs out. Smart move by the 19 of Curtis Young there.
And the 44 in front almost got a little bit too hot and heavy into the corner, caught up to Derek Fisher, but he'll jump to the inside this time. Curtis Young, deepest he's been in the field all night, P5. He'll take over the number 4 spot, gets around the number 44. He'll set his sights on the 13 at Derek Fisher. He just needs to get to Judd Daniels.
Oh,
before he
23!
gets to the 23, sideways, and your race leader's in the fence and big junk.
Wow. And they're still wrecking.
Turn 4. Another time, a truck going to get loose all on its own, and this time on old tires, it's your race leader. We knew that Gary Brown had to get going, and what the point that I was going to make there before all that broke out, Tyler, was that Curtis Young needed to get to Danielson before Danielson got past the race leader. He was catching him because that clean air was going to be so important, and I thought initially that Brown had gotten the left side tires on the apron. He didn't get that close. He just got sideways off the corner, and the truck did not come back around. And unfortunately, when we saw this happen last time, Bucky Birt spun, got into the fence, stayed in the fence because he kind of tank slapped it with the left rear of the truck. This time, a head-on impact sent the 23 right back out into traffic. Kevin Fetty, who's had a spectacular truck all night, is involved. The 44 machine is also involved. The Ray Richer, and plenty more, as you noted, also came piling on in.
I just want to point out right now the 35 of Bobby Jonas. How did he get through that? That is impressive. He just drove between the spinning truck of Gary Brown and the wall. Got the wall just a little bit, but still, he kept it as clean as he could right there.
I'll tell you how he got through. He got through with his eyes closed. He was in the right spot at the right time, and he is just able to squeak into the correct position and survive. And with that, we have more pit cycles about. Judd Danielson going to stay out at the front of the field along with Fisher and Young. We take a look on board for the replay there, and you'll get the perspective of the number 35 machine of Bobby Jones coming out of turn 4. A lot of junk in front, went to the inside, and I think while he did brush the fence, he got within. See, if the 23 had the nose pointed to the inside fence, Tyler, or the tailgate, he would have hit him. And he just happened to squeak by as that truck was in the middle of a rotation.
Yeah, that is luck at its best right there. That was so close. And if that truck would have been at any other angle there, as you said, he would have hit, and that would have probably clogged the entire front stretch then.
And now that you get through it, you got to do something with it. You're not a junked truck. Go out there and get a result that talks about it. Let's take a look at your iRacing Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing for NASCAR, IndyCar, the IMSA, and more. Judd Danielson to the point, Derek Fisher second, and pole sitter Curtis Young back into number 3 spot as they run to it now. Mike Donahue, Steve Cunningham inside the top 5, James Somke, Mark Fravor, Gary Weston, Chad Payne, Eric Hawk through the top 10.
Justin Anderson, the 16 truck, is running in the 11th position. Robert McFarland in 12th. Bucky Birt spun off of turn number 4. He's clawed his way back up to 13th. Russ Coe in 14th. Bobby Jonas, we just saw get extremely lucky through that wreck. He's in 15th. Dennis Cook in 16th. David Gainforth involved in that wreck there on the front stretch in 17th. Ray Richer now has dropped, so in 17th now is Joshua Ramos, Gerald Heffley in 18th. Robert McFarland drops down to 19th, and in 20th it is Michael Fravor.
And then final driver on the lead lap, P21 for Dennis Cook. Trucks down 1 lap include Patrick Elhofer, Kevin Fetty, Chuck Dix, Ryan Stoneker through 25th. 2 laps down for Marcus Potts, Gary Brown, 26 and 27. And out of the race, back furthermore, Philip Meyer, Len McNeese, Tyler Roberts, 28th through 30th. This has been your iRacing Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com and sign up today. Use the promo code PR-2016 LSRTV on a new iRacing membership. Get a late model free of charge, along with 13 cars and 14 tracks included, and a first-time subscription. Base car down and away. The 85 wants his first shot at taking over this race. Green flag to turn number 1, and Danielson to the point now. Single file top 3. Here comes Young with a bumper run on Fisher. He'll tag him in the right rear. They both get out of shape.
Wow, Curtis Young there is now going to fall to the grips of Mike Donahue and Steve Cunningham, but there he goes, just driving away center of the corner there, and now he's going to try and gain some speed on the 13. He's doing it. He's closing in on Derek Fisher, looks to the inside, dives it down there, but the 13 dives it down even further into turn number 1, trying to get a run on the 85 of Judd Danielson, and now it's going to be a three-way battle for the lead.
Yeah, and Danielson can't get away. The 19 looks to the inside. Can't do it. He knows that Fisher might be in a better position, but the 15 going to lose ground top side. Now it is side by side for a second. Look at the 19. Left side tires below the apron. Trying to get that truck to rotate through the corner at a turn that most guys can't keep it tight enough to get through. Curtis Young on the attack. Give him P2.
Yeah, Curtis Young has been able to make that truck rotate better than anyone else center off that I've seen all night long here. And Judd Danielson, it looks like he's trying to really back up his corners, trying to get a better run off, but it's just no use with Curtis Young being right behind him and closing in. That 19 truck has just been the class of the field all night long.
And I think eventually you just can't beat speed. Here he comes to the back bumper. Danielson over the radio almost concedes a little bit as he hangs out on the inside. Hand out the window, that 19 to the outside of the racetrack. He'll clear him coming off of turn number 4 when he gets back to the gas right there. Into the race lead goes Curtis Young. Beautifully executed move on the outside of the racetrack. A good job by Danielson on the inside to give him an honest and fair fight. He didn't pitch him up at all. He gave him the outside of the racetrack, but just too much to beat. And a 19 Young to the point, but now he breaks sideways coming at it too. And don't think that Danielson's going to just sit around and give up an opportunity. He's not going to get any further, though, than where they were exactly one lap ago at this point, where Young cleared him off at the final corner. Danielson battles to the inside. He'll keep a nose there, but won't get the lap led.
Yeah, I think that might have been the first mistake I've seen out of that 19 truck here tonight. Just that little bobble in turn number 1, and he doesn't have it that time coming off of turn number 2, and he just drives away from Judd Danielson going down the backstretch as Derek Fisher in third. He just watches these two trying to fight, and of Mike Donahue and the 86 of Steve Cunningham, they've been going at it hard as the 70 brushes the wall for 4.
Yeah, we know turn 4 has been a place that people are getting really tight coming off of, and even in turn 2 as well, everywhere off of the corner, because it's so difficult to be able to keep the gas down. We talk about people putting too much wheel into these trucks. You're trying to make that corner as wide as you can and not really jerk the wheel as much as possible. You take a very wide exit, and that's how you end up getting so close so many times. But Young, another bobble that time. And Danielson, well, maybe not faster on the long run speed, is still there to jump on it. Can't get to the inside that time, but he's letting them know that he's there nonetheless. Battle behind with Cunningham trying to get up to P4. He sets his sights on Mike Donahue.
Yeah, I've been watching this battle for 4th position here for the past couple of laps, and just look at Steve Cunningham just drive that truck down into the corner so deep, getting that big run, but he's been able to also maintain position coming out of the corners right behind the 70, so the 86, he's really driving hard, and so is Mike Donahue there. He just throws it in center of the corner there, and you know, they might be separated by a truck length or so, but still, this is an intense battle between the two of them. There's the 86 driving it in deep into turn number 3 on the outside of number 70 of Mike Donahue, and it looks like puff of smoke there. Not sure where that came from. It was Kevin Fetty's engine has expired. He's up high there, but 86, he ends up getting the position away from Mike Donahue.
And Fetty can't get anywhere. He coasts down the back straightaway. He better hope that he can find an opening to get to pit road. And it looked like now he has power back in that truck. He was losing a lot of speed down in 1 and 2. Looks like he may have some engine back, but it definitely is causing him some issues. And again, we talked about the accident that he was involved. Instead of battling for the race lead as he was earlier, he's 24th at 5 laps down. Battle for 3rd. Here comes the 86 of Cunningham. Knocked out the 70. Trying to knock out the number 13 Chevrolet, get to a podium spot. And Fisher hangs on for the moment, but that gap now is just 2 truck lengths.
You know, with how hard Steve Cunningham is driving, I'm a little bit worried about what his tire situation might be. This run here is shaping up to be the longest run of the evening so far, and with how hard he's driving into the corners and having to crank that wheel just to get to turn, and right there he cannot get it down away from the wall, and here comes Mike Donahue to the inside challenging for 4th place again. But Steve Cunningham, he just seems to be overdriving at this point, trying to get as many positions as he can in as short amount of time as possible. This could be bad if this stays green for him the rest of the night.
And we have somewhat of an idea of what the tires are like on 10, 15, maybe even a 20-lap basis. But again, you continue to go into green flag conditions. We're going to get the points where we haven't seen what these tires do all night long. It is fair to say that there is going to be a point where those tires hit that proverbial cliff and they fall off. We have not seen that point yet tonight. Pushing the truck the hardest you've done all night long as he gets to the outside. And can't get the spot, though. Drove it in a little bit too hard in the center. Backed it off, coming off. Does he do the crossover to turn 1 from the outside to the inside? Steve Cunningham not looking at all to conserve the tires. He wants the spot badly. It is fair to question where that truck's going to be in 10, 15 laps from now.
Yeah, and Derek Fisher, we don't know. Oh, he pushes up. Almost gets into the 13 there, and that's the risk that you get for just throwing it in that deep into the corners. He might just push up and take the driver on the outside out of the race, but you know, with how hard Steve Cunningham is driving, it makes everyone else just sort of look like they're taking their time, and there goes the 86, he's sliding.
He pushed it too hard, and he loses control. Caution, lap number 88. Steve Cunningham tried again, took a little bit too much, and he just abused that truck too much. Spins it out, coming out of turn 2. We're back under the caution flag.
You know, I was just getting ready to say that if he doesn't, like, calm it down there, he might have overheated the tires, spin it out, but somebody else might have wanted to get to him if they feel like he might have wronged him at some point. But Steve Cunningham just driving very aggressive there and just a little too much. He asked out of that truck there coming out of turn number 2.
So we group back up behind the pace car once again. We're going to restart inside of 35 laps to go from PIR, but with pit road open, Curtis Young, your race leader, going to take a peek down once again. 4 tires for what could be one of the final times on the evening, coming in after the longest green flag stint on the night.
Yeah, and during that green flag run there, I got a little bit of a peek up front, and Judd Danielson was hanging on to second place. He was maybe about 2-3 truck lengths behind Curtis Young in the 19, so Judd Danielson found his pace, but he still needs to stay in front of the 19, and here's the 19 getting into his pit stall. Nope, he didn't overshoot. He looked like he got a little further ahead, but he hits his marks perfectly into his pit stall left side, maintain second position coming off, and the 13 of Derek Fisher will maintain third.
Just behind them, I think one of the only changes for position inside the top 10, Somke just going to squeak out in front of Mike Donahue, and they will exchange P4 and a P5 on the racetrack. They're going to catch up to the pace car this time. Pit road going to be open for lap down machines. We're inside of the final 35 laps to go in round number 10 on the Domino's Dented Fenders Truck Series campaign. And as we wait a restart late in this one, we'll take a very quick opportunity to step aside and go LSRTV nonstop back here in just a moment on iRacing Live.
While lions are notorious for their voracious appetites, they spend a great deal of time feeding other creatures. In fact, lions will take great care to ensure there's plenty to go around. As you can see, they keep giving with utter ferocity. Bravo, lions, and bon appetit. Do good, be a lion.
Welcome back live to the Jewel in the Desert, LSRTV's coverage of the Domino's TYJ Racing Dented Fenders Truck Series continues tonight with the Bucky Birt Media with pit stops for Hope 125 from Avondale, Arizona. We're going to take a restart with the pace car ducks out of the way this time by and go back under green flag racing conditions with 30 race on the chase. 17 chase-eligible drivers. It'll become just 15 outside of tonight's contest, but a battle for the race win yet to be decided upon. Eric Hawk, he's going to stay out, go to the race lead. Curtis Young, the dominant driver on the night, on the outside of the front row, and right now scored in second. A pace car going to duck down and away. Could it be the last time tonight? Green flag and away. Out of turn 4, back underway.
Now this restart could be interesting as Judd Danielson gives the 20 a shot in the rear bumper, but Eric Hawk, he's teammates of the 19. They're going to touch a little bit there, and here comes Judd Danielson. He's going to make it 3 wide down the backstretch. 20 truck in the center.
Problems back in the pack. The number 44 machine out of shape on the restart and going to be able to hang on. Ray Richer down into the grass, not around, no caution. We stay green, but he got tagged in the 3 wide fight, ended up in the grass. There was no caution, and we stay as he tries to run away from Derek Fisher, P2, Judd Danielson, 3rd, as Hawk continues to slide back in the field in all tires.
And as I was saying before, his teammates with the 19 of Curtis Young, and choosing the inside line was going to give Curtis Young that advantage on the outside, but his biggest challenge on the night was the 85 of Judd Danielson. Maybe a little bit of teammate strategy there, creating a pick for the 85 to try and get around, and it works so far as he's fallen back to 3rd place behind the number 13 of Derek Fisher.
Yeah, and things are still way too tight for comfort as people try to get around the 20 back in the pack. Hawk still sits in front of the on Chad Payne, the 22 machine. Joshua Ramos trying to get up to him. And that's a battle that's going on, though, over 3 seconds behind your race leader. We haven't seen many battles for the race lead. Behind Derek Fisher, sideways in the corner. Judd Danielson out of shape as well. He'll get tagged by Donahue and around.
The 13 just drove it in way too deep into turn number 1, and Judd Danielson, seeing the spin, just got on the brakes and tried to avoid him there. He gets no damage, drives through the grass though, but the 70 gets some damage, and the 1 of James Somke ends up going around trying to avoid the accident as well, and Somke was running in the top 5 there, all the way up from 27th starting position, so this is going to drop him back, and it might hurt now because we're almost reaching the 25 laps to go, and that's going to be a lot of positions to try and make up.
It's a bad time in this race to find yourself in some trouble. Damage could end up, obviously, on the 13, the 70, the 1. The 18, though, did a spectacular job of getting around Mark Fravor. A spectacular move to not get collected in that one. It was his turn to pull the Bobby Jodas and find the hole and squeak through down in turns 1 and 2. He'll be able to maintain a good running position. Now, though, your leaders come in once again. Again, we did not see them come in on very short stints of 2 to 3 laps earlier, but now Curtis Young gives up the race lead, and plenty more trucks have stayed out.
If there's going to be multiple cautions here to end this race, it's all about when you come down pit road, because if it goes green from here on out, Mark Fravor and the 86 of Steve Cunningham and Dennis Cook, they're going to be the 3 that sort of have a bit of an advantage here because there are less laps to go. They're going to be able to try and maintain staying up front there as long as possible, but in about 5 laps, if there's another caution, we might see Curtis Young, Judd Danielson, those 2 might stay out, and then the 18, the 86, and the 54, they're going to have to go back through the field. So it's just going to be a revolving door here to see who's going to be up front when the caution flags fall.
And also, people back in the pack, they're going to have issues. At this point, you almost need a little bit of a luck to find yourself in the right spot. Tonight's coverage brought to you by Operation Homefront. Operation Homefront will provide direct financial assistance to help ease the burdens and relieve the financial strain for military families in need. Donate today at operationhomefront.net. 21 trucks on the lead lap at this point in the race. Ray Richer at the back of them all. Interestingly enough, one of the names that we talked about for much of the night that was in battles. You can also put Ryan Stonecker into that conversation. Len McNeese, just a couple of the names of people who have been up front and some of which who have led laps in this race that are probably not going to get a shot at winning it. On the flip side, Mark Fravert avoids the accident. Steve Cunningham, Dennis Cook, Russ Coe, and James Somke. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Names that we really haven't talked about being up front now do have an opportunity to try to win this race.
Yeah, Mark Fravert started 28th. Russ Coe started 30th, both in the top 5 here. James Somke, we saw just barely loop it on that last caution. He stays out. He's sitting in 5th position. So those are 3 drivers from outside the top 25 that started this race, now up in the top 5. Curtis Young, he's going to start on the outside in 6th position, so he has the correct lane choice and the time to make his way around 5 trucks.
And how many green flag laps, I think, consecutively is going to be a big question in that as well. How many caution flags are left in this race as well? Could be a very large factoring part in how this race plays out. He has traffic to get by. He's been clean all night. Could he survive a couple of late race restarts? We're going to have 100 laps down and just 25 laps to go as we cycle out of turns 3 and 4. The pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down and away. Favored on the throttle to the restart box in green.
Interesting stack up there on that restart. The 18 went, stopped. The 86 went, stopped. And then the 18 finally went again, and they're fanning out 3 wide for 3rd. And there's the 420. He gets tagged there. And a big wreck on the backstretch. The 420 of Russ Coe and others going around, and the 14 of Gary Weston. Wow, the 420 got major air.
And talking about the 19, how he had such a good race and he was so clean. He was in front of the 420 of Coe on a restart, so that easy. That could have been him. Unfortunately, or rather fortunately enough, I should say, he's able to get by, and all out of shape was Coe. They got stacked up in another spectacular accident, this time out of turns number 1 and 2. The 420 truck up in the air comes back down to earth on all 4 Goodyear Wranglers, and we'll be able to drive it back to the pit lane. But again, maybe the second big one on the night strikes inside of 25 to go, and those are the bullets that somebody like a Curtis Young is going to have to dodge here if he wants to get back up front and win this race.
Yeah, and right now I think Curtis Young's job just got a little bit easier trying to get back up front. The 85 of Judd Danielson was involved in that wreck. Damage both to the front end and the back end. He got into the 420 of Russ Coe. I believe it was Chad Payne in the 9 that got into the back of Judd Danielson. So his night has just gone from bad to worse here as he had to restart mid-pack, Judd Danielson. So we'll see what he can salvage here, but I don't think that the 85 is going to have enough to get up to the front and win this now.
Bravert could be the one that steals this one. In fact, you talked about that restart. I want to talk about that a little bit again. For most series on iRacing, you have the opportunity to go green when the pace car ducks down to the inside of pit road to the time that the green flag actually comes out, which is at the exit of the restart box. It is a much wider window to restart the race than what you'll see on the NASCAR side of things, where they have obviously from the start to the exit of the restart box. Not the case in the Domino's TYJ Racing Dented Fenders Truck Series. They have to wait until the green flag drops before they can go. So Fravert took way off, got on the brakes, and got going, and I think luckily they didn't all stack him up on the front stretch, because that would have been directly his fault, but he really got a bunch of guys to skew behind him.
Yeah, it was certainly one hectic restart, and unfortunately guys that we've seen up front there just maybe 10 laps earlier have now gotten some heavy damage because number 13 of Derek Fisher, we saw him battling for second and third there earlier. He got a piece of that wreck there too, so just a mistake up at the front can cost you big if you're in the middle there or towards the back, and that's the whole revolving door I was talking about earlier with the pit stop strategy here late in the race. If you're in the back and you had just been up front, that's the risk you're going to run, because if you're back there and there's another caution, chances are it's going to happen in front of you and you need to get through it. And we just saw two drivers that were up front hoping for another caution to come out so they could cycle back to the front. They got collected in it.
And now it's a waiting game. Lights on top of the pace car go out. We get set to dance again. This time, knock another 5 laps off of the board. Instead of inside of the final 25, we go back under green flag racing conditions inside of the final 20. Still 19 trucks scored on the lead lap at this point in the race. Fravert on the inside of the front row is the control truck. Cunningham P2, James Somke in third, Dennis Cook fourth, and Curtis Young still relegated back into the number 5 position. First and third position on the racetrack right now. Fravert, Somke started this race 28th and 27th respectively. As for Curtis Young, who's back in P5, who started on pole and has led the most laps so far here tonight. It's a bearing contrast nonetheless, coming into what could be the final wave of the American Ethanol. Green flag on the night. 20 laps to go from Phoenix. Pace car down and in. The field waits on the 18 to the restart box.
Green flag is out. A much better restart for the field that time round, but another good restart from the... Oh, there goes the 86. Contact with him and the 1. They both straightened it out. Big winner, though. The Curtis Young, and there they go.
Ran out of room. They held on initially. It's going to be bumper cars at a turn 2. And finally, caution flag going to wave. And then another accident. Possible bad news for the number 19 to Curtis Young in another scenario where he ends up A-OK. The contact comes in turn number 1. I think the 1 really just got pinched down. The 89 was trying to follow the 18, Tyler. Problem was he wasn't single file. So you got to move up a little bit. And he pinches down Somke. They get together. The 19 drives around him, clear as day, and they were fine. But again, they all ran out of room after a couple of trucks actually on the outside of the racetrack had their own issues coming out of the corner. 54, Cook got way checked up. And the second Somke got on the brakes, his truck really wasn't settled down, went right around on him.
Yeah, just an insane amount of carnage off of turn number 2, but I got to point out one of the lucky guys here, Ray Richer in the 44. He drives through a hole there right before it closes up, and he's able to get through that with no damage whatsoever.
And now, move up the 19 and Curtis Young to second. Mark Fravert can feel that he's coming. Restart inbound with 15 laps to go. Can the 18 hang on for maybe just 1 or 2 final restarts and try to beat Curtis Young and take the winner away for the 19, who has really just been waiting for his turn to take the checkered flag since about an hour and change ago, since he took the green flag in this race. It really has been the best truck all night long. We're going to find out who's going to win this one, though. Fravert, Young, Donahue, Cook, Birt. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You want to talk about somebody who's come back from problems early? Bucky Birt, self-spin at a turn 4 early in this one. Right now he runs P5.
Yeah, he's just been able to get that truck fixed up under caution after he hit the wall, and just through luck, he's been able to avoid all of these wrecks here that have been happening right around him, and he just drives right on by as they start to happen, and he's really capitalized here from being back in the 20s early to now in search of a top 5 finish, possibly even a podium here before the night's out.
We'll see if the lights go out this time by, and they will remain on. So the restart looks like it is going to be primed and ready to go just at that point, at 15 to go. So a quick caution flag means you're going to get about a 5 or 4 lap cycle under the yellow flag. So to look ahead a little bit, if we continue at this rate where we went back green with 25 to go, got a caution, went back green with 20 to go, got a caution, and now it looks like we'll go back green with 15 laps to go. 2 more yellows going to put you at 5 laps to go. At that point, caution ends this race. You do not get an opportunity to go back green. Lap 125 is going to be the final lap regardless. No overtime. You could have a 1-lap shootout, could have a 2-lap shootout, but if the caution comes within 5 or 4 laps to go, you won't be able to cycle through that green flag pit cycle. So Mark Fravor really wants a bunch of quick cautions here, because I don't know that he's going to beat Curtis Young head-to-head. He had a 5-car length gap when the 19 was back in 5th. Now that he's side-by-side with him, though, he's really going to need a couple of things to go in his direction.
Yeah, and even before the cautions come out, he needs to stay ahead of the 19. Just being able to drive off the corner on the exit of turn number 1 and 2 there, so the caution's going to have to be real quick in order for Mark Fravor to really have a chance of stealing this win away. I just don't think if we run this 15 laps green out, I don't think he's going to have anything for Curtis Young here.
We are going to the number 19. A strategy call, though, is given Fravor this position, and he has a good truck. Don't get me wrong, 6th best in a practice session. Started back in the pack. His truck is clean, and he is in the best spot you can be, which is the control position. However, he'll be on the inside in turn 1 so far tonight. That has proven to not be the place you want to be. Pace car down and in. Could it be for the final time? 15 to go, green flag.
A great jump by the 19. He's going to have a bit of an advantage going down into turn number 1. Not what the 18 of Mark Fravor wants, and there goes Curtis Young to the lead. He's clear out of turn number 2. It's now Curtis Young's race to lose here as the number 18 of Mark Fravor falls to 2nd and Mike Donahue runs in 3rd. Bucky Birt, he picked up a position. He's running 4th now.
Birt trying to close in. Could he try to steal a podium from this one? He'd have to get through Mike Donahue to do so. The 70 runs in 3rd now. Birt half a second back. But Curtis Young, clean air front of the field. He looks to check out, closing in on 10 laps to go. And Mark Fravor may just have to scrap for P2.
Yeah, right now it just must be a sick feeling in the stomach of Mark Fravor, because he had a chance to get this win here on a pit strategy call, but the luck and speed that Curtis Young has had on his side, not only tonight but all season long, is just unreal. He's been the class of the field for so many races, and caution out on the racetrack. We're gonna stack him up again.
Yeah, caution is out, which means that all hope may not. Chad Payne backwards into the outside of the racetrack there, and didn't look like really it was at all his fault. It's the 44 of Patrick Elhofer in the fence at a turn 4, and once he came off the wall, he just clipped the number 9 machine. Around in turn 1 goes Chad Payne, and we're back under yellow.
Yeah, just looks like Chad Payne tried to make a bit of a move there while racing with the number 5, and just barely got clipped. 44 was in the fence, as he said, came down just a little bit to try and pull himself off, collected the 9, but now back up to the lead. Looking at Curtis Young, he's still leading this thing, but are we going to see a pit stop here, or is it too late for these drivers to really try and do anything?
The question is there going to be that strategy call late in this race? Up at the front of the field, your leaders, they want nothing to do with coming to pit road. Young, Fravor, Donahue, Birt, and Ramos, the top 5, all going to stay out on track. We're inside of the final 10 laps. We'll be coming back in just a moment for what may be the final restart on the night. But before then, we'll step away one final time and go LSRTV non-stop. The final restart could be up next. The Bucky Birt Media with pit stops for Hope 125 is just about at the conclusion. You're watching it on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
While lions are notorious for their voracious appetites, they spend a great deal of time feeding other creatures. In fact, lions will take great care to ensure there's plenty to go around. As you can see, they keep giving with utter ferocity. Bravo, lions, and bon appetit. Do good, be a lion.
For iRacing to get Le Mans is huge. I mean, this is a unique event, a unique track where, you know, half of the track is public road, so you can never test on it, you never get experience on it, and it's 8 miles in length, 4-minute lap time in a GT car. So, you know, even if you're here for an hour of testing, that's only 15 laps, and you're only going to see the corner 15 times that day. The first section going through the Dunlop area is pretty unique. You know, it's got elevation change and off camber. Then you go down Mulsanne into the chicanes, and you know, the straights are unbelievably long. It's a tricky track, and you know, every year I've come here, this is being my 4th year, you learn something new every time.
We've wanted to add Le Mans to iRacing for a long time, and we've really been working hard towards it for the last 5 years. But really, things only came together in the last week leading up to this race, so it was a real scramble to put everything together. The majority of Le Mans is public roads, so when they're preparing for the 24-hour race, it's really the only time that we can visit to laser scan and photograph the track so that we can recreate it in iRacing. We work closely with the ACO to get essentially exclusive access to the facility and everything that we needed to get the laser scanning and photographic reference that we need to create the track. We were very fortunate to be at Le Mans at the most important time of the year and gain that experience of being there. And we're going to really do the best we can to put that into our work and making sure that the Le Mans in iRacing is the best Le Mans, the most exciting and accurate recreation of the track possible.
Quiet Phoenix International Raceway problems coming right to, I think, 11 laps to go as we got set to get tonight's Bucky Birt Media with pit stops for Hope 125 back underway. An extracurricular connection issue has caused this race to be official, 11 laps shy of being able to make it home at the end. So at the point of the issue, the field was frozen. This race is done, and Curtis Young awaits us down in Gatorade Victory Lane in a moment. Before we get to him, let's take a look at your Domino's full race results. Curtis Young, your winner from the pole. Mike Fravert couldn't hang on for what ended up being about 2 minutes too late. Comes home P2. Mike Donahue going to end up on the podium. They're all trackside with us. We'll speak to them in just a second. Bucky Birt comes home with a solid P4 tonight with Joshua Ramos rounding out your top 5. Justin Anderson, P6. David Gain 4th, up 13 to finish P7. Dennis Cook in 8th spot. 9th tonight is Steve Cunningham. And Judd Danielson rounds out your top 10.
Finishing in the 11th spot on the night is Ray Richard. Robert McFarland finishes in 12th. Russ Coe will finish in 13th. Chad Payne 14th. Gerald Heffley had his share of issues tonight. He'll finish in 15th position. Michael Fravert finishes 16th, and Patrick Elhofer will finish in 17th. Last truck on the lead lap. Eric Hawk in the 20 will finish in 18th. First truck 1 lap down. And then Derek Fisher in the 13 will finish 19th. 20th will go to James Somke.
21st position tonight for Kevin Fetty, and again, all of these drivers multiple laps down. Just behind him, Chuck Dix in 22nd, Philip Mayer in the number 23 spot, Gary West in 24th with Bobby Jonas in 25th, Ryan Stjaniker 26th, 27 for Marcus Potts, and then Gary Brown, Len McNeese, and Tyler Roberts, 28th, 29th, and 30th. Round out your field. That's a look at your Domino's full race results presented by Domino's. With Domino's new piece of the Pie Rewards, you can earn a free pizza after just 6 online orders of $10 or more. Sign up at Domino's.com/rewards. Domino's. Oh, yes, we did. Caught up down with the driver tonight who ends up at a victory lane, and I think rightfully so. Young. Another spectacular drive for the driver of the number 19 machine. Picks up the checkered flag tonight from Phoenix. Curtis, congratulations to you. That truck looked bad fast. They tested you at the end there, but it ended up not being enough. That truck was just too good.
Thanks, yeah. I just tried to qualify up front and tried to stay up there as much as I could because I figured there was going to be a bunch of cautions, and yeah, there ended up being a bunch of cautions, so worked out good.
What we were talking about, ironically enough, I'll tell you, for the first 100 laps of this one, when we started to get to the cautions there late inside of the final 30, we talked about how you had such a good truck all night long, and a late race scenario with a bunch of yellows and a bunch of accidents could be something that takes that win away from you. In fact, it was just the opposite. You ended up back in P5. There was about 2 wrecks that you could have easily been in. If we had the issue with the server about 1 restart earlier, you wouldn't have won this race. And thankfully tonight, I think you had the better truck. And all of those accidents are not what actually cost you the race. And in fact, it all happened to fall perfectly for you there late.
Yeah, everything just fell into place for me. I was really surprised on that final pit stop before the server lagged out that more people didn't go down pit road to try and kind of hang me out to dry on older tires, but I guess the only thing that would have done for them is move them back because we never got going again, so...
A big win here tonight. We talk about, obviously, the championship picture. For you guys, though, 6th win on the season. It's great news because you're safely into Chicago. At the same time, 17 drivers now going to be cut down to 15 drivers into the 4th to last race. And, well, you guys have had such a good run. We talked about in the pre-race show, you're back to square one. You go to Chicago, you're on an even playing field. You have to ensure that you get a good result back in 2 weeks' time. This win here tonight, I'm sure it makes you guys feel good. How do you make sure you do it again in 2 weeks' time to continue that charge for a championship?
I just got to make sure that I practice the track leading up to the race and make sure I do a full fuel run and get my pit strategy organized before the race so I'm not thinking about that while I'm driving, and just hope things fall into place for me.
They most definitely did tonight. From the pole for the 6th win on the season, sir, the sponsors, the shout-outs, all of those good folks behind the scenes. Who makes it happen for you?
My buddies Eric Hawk, Gary Weston, and Curtis Aho. I drive with them outside the league quite a bit, and everybody who watches me, my buddies, and my dad, and Robert, and you guys at LSRTV for everything you guys do.
Do want to thank you as always, Curtis, for sticking around and chat with us. Congratulations on the win. Congratulations on advancing into the next round. We'll see you at Chicago in 2 weeks' time.
10-4. Have a good night, guys.
Your winner tonight, Curtis Young Powers, to a win tonight from Phoenix International Raceway, his 6th on the season in just 10 starts on the calendar year. Mark Fravert, Mike Donahue come home 2nd and 3rd and caught up trackside with those 2 drivers. Beginning with their P2 finisher is Tyler Herr.
I'm down here with Mark Fravert, who started all the way back in the 28th position, had driven himself all the way to the 2nd place to end this race here with the help of some pit calls. Mark, it was a long night. How'd you get all the way up to 2nd here?
Well, me and my teammates, Mike Fravert and James Tomke, we decided to start in the back and we did some practice during the week, and we just decided it'd be best to stay in the back and go from there. Just ride it out for a little bit and see how the tires wear out in the pit stops, and that's how we decided to do that.
And the other thing that I noticed here, your truck, not even one scratch on it. You were able to avoid all of that chaos happening in front of you. What was it? Real big wrecks where the entire track was blocked. How were you able to get through?
Yeah, that's actually pretty funny because the first caution actually came out. I was actually like you said, dead last when I started this race pretty much. And the first caution, actually, there was a car that was like 2nd from last, and I don't know how I even avoided him. But after that, just a lot of lucky breaks. That's what racing's about. You gotta get some breaks. You gotta finish first before you can win, and I just wanted to try to finish the race first.
Yeah, it almost fell your way, and then you had to use some pit strategy to get all the way up to the front there and just hope that you were able to hold Curtis Young off. Those final few restarts must have been nerve-wracking, seeing that 19 behind you. What were you thinking throughout each restart, and then you just seeing the 19 closing in closer and closer?
Well, I was thinking that it was okay in the beginning because I didn't see a 19 right away. I just wanted to race the racetrack and not race other people, other drivers. And but once we had a couple more cautions there towards the end, and I see the 19 second, I was like, oh my God, this is not good. So I figured I'd get a good restart, but he did too on top of that, and he beat me in the turn, and I still actually held with him. So I think I still had something, even though I had more laps on the tires, but who knows what would have happened. I'm sure, he had the advantage, of course, because he had newer tires, but I wasn't giving up.
Even though the race was cut 11 laps short here tonight, you still finished second. Who helped you get that second place done here tonight?
Oh, that's pretty easy. I don't have to thank my teammates. We did lots of testing this week. My brother, he's won a couple of races already this season. James Sopke, he's one hell of a race driver, and he's good at doing different types of lines and helping me out in the breaking points. And yeah, those guys right there, especially the teammates, are huge help.
Well, congratulations once again on your second place finish here tonight, Mark.
Well, thank you. I'd love to thank you guys, LSRTV, for putting this race on, and also I'd like to thank Pit Stops for Hopes, and actually Bucky Birt's media also. All great programs, and you guys put on a great show. I mean, it's just, I'm sorry for the fans out there that had to see the race shortened, but that's the way it is sometimes. And the rain comes in. Sometimes it comes in. You can't control Mother Nature. So, but anyways, and I also want to thank Robert too. He has a great league and puts on a good show for everybody.
There you have it from Mark Fravor. Blame it on the rain, but still coming home in second position here tonight. And now, right beside him, the number 70 Miller High Life Chevrolet of Mike Donahue. Mike started in the 10th position, was fighting in the top 5 and top 10 all night long with various drivers, and we've seen you involved with some very close situations there, Mike. Just take us through your eventful night here.
Thanks, fellas. Yeah, it was pretty exciting. Had a great setup underneath the truck. It was narrow track, that turn 1-2, that's collected a lot of people this evening. And you go to the front, you go to the back. It was tough. It was a tough go tonight.
Yeah, we definitely see that with a little bit of damage on the front end and sort of the back end of the truck there, not so much. So a lot of the action happening right in front of you, it seems, but still able to claw your way to a third place. We know that you guys raced on the newer Phoenix here a few months ago, so what were some of the differences you had to face between the new Phoenix and tonight on the old layout?
The grass, not having that dog leg and coming out of pit road was really tough. It was tough for the guys racing around. I'm glad we had a lot of yellow flags, pit stops as opposed to green flag runs, because I could have seen a whole lot of trouble there. And how much narrower the track is in turns 1 and 2. That was probably the biggest. The track had a ton of grip in it, and the fall off was great with the tires Goodyear brought for us.
Yeah, and earlier in this race, we just saw you racing real hard with the likes of Steve Cunningham, and later on in that race, we saw you fighting for position with Mark and Curtis Young. And if this race could have played its way out for the final 11 laps here, do you think you might have had anything for the top 2 guys?
Well, I think Curtis Young, he's in a class by himself. But I think I may have had something for Mark. I know he'd pitted, and his lap tires were a little bit older, And I think I could have had something for him if we could have played her out to the checkered flag.
Well, more importantly here, 2 weeks you're going to be moving on to Chicagoland Speedway. With this third place finish here, is that going to help your momentum going forward to try and secure more positions in the chase for you?
I believe so. We haven't run Chicago yet this year, so it's going to be new for all the drivers. But it's a great track to run. It's lots of room. I think everybody's going to have a ton of fun and momentum. You get some momentum from a top three, and you just carry it forward and keep going with it.
All right, Mike, congratulations on your third place finish, and most importantly, who helps you get it done here tonight?
Oh, I got to thank Molson on the side of the truck there to get it done. I got to thank my crew chief calling the shots upstairs. A couple of the guys in the league are always offering support and stuff like that. I got to thank Bucky, Birt Media, and Pit Stops for Hope for sponsoring tonight's race. That's fantastic that they could come together and make this happen for everyone.
Now, a few weeks ago, I believe it was Ryan Steinak or Ray Richer, one of the two, they started a tradition of opening a cold one on the broadcast. Do you have one nearby to open up?
No, unfortunately, I've got nothing. I had a glass of cranberry juice, and that's as close as I come.
All right, well, hopefully in 2 weeks we'll be talking to you again after the race, so make sure you're prepared.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, that was your third place finisher, Mike Donahue.
It was an exciting race nonetheless, and he needs to keep some stuff stored up if he wants to be able to really celebrate. Give it a couple of weeks' time, and if they're in a position to do something else big here, win a couple more races, really kick something off. That's Mike Donahue, comes home third tonight as well. I've caught up trackside with the driver who comes home in P4 tonight, and you want to talk about a roller coaster of a night for Bucky Birt. The 25 back in traffic early. It involved in an incident in turn 4, gets sideways, yellow flag comes out, and he comes home inside of the top 4, Bucky. And I know after all of that, a net gain of 18 start to try to get 1 or 2 more. Still a spectacular result for you guys. Walk us through that resilient charge back up front. We'll see if we can get the 25 back on the radio in just a moment. But Bucky Birt does come home inside of the top 5, just behind Mike Donahue third, and Joshua Ramos behind him in the number 4 spot. That's going to basically do it, though, here from Phoenix International Raceway. An interesting race. I think that we were expecting a lot of that, and I think we got it now. Bucky, you got us?
Yeah, I was using the wrong the wrong button, but
there you go.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it was a hard-fought battle. I did not get any practice this week due to my new schedule that I have, so kind of came in here not really knowing what the track was going to be like as far as the weather and everything, but got off to a little rocky start, was able to dodge most of the incidents, got into one on my own, just driver error. I kind of was driving a little too hard, but yeah, the Bucky Birt Media Toyota Tundra march through the field restarts were really my best moves of the race, and I was hoping we had at least one more, because I think I could have at least got second. Maybe, I don't know if anyone could have been able to beat Curtis Young. He's so spectacular here on this iRacing server. So, but I'm happy with this. I needed this. It's been a rough couple of last races for me. So solid top 5. Can't ask for anything better than that.
We saw a lot of accidents like yours, guys. I mean, not that they were, I'm sure the trucks were loose all over the racetrack, but I think the problem was once you got sideways, there wasn't a lot that you could do. And it was the older configuration of Phoenix International Raceway, a point that Tyler mentioned when he spoke with Mike Donahue just a couple of minutes ago, who came home in third tonight. These guys obviously ran the newer configuration of Phoenix earlier on in the season. Do you think that maybe the handling conditions due in part to that rougher surface?
It could have been, and I don't know what other drivers were dealing with, but for me, I was perfect getting in the corner, tight in the middle, and loose getting off. Some people say, well, that's probably a perfect setup, and I managed with it okay. I was comfortable with it, but tires didn't really seem to fall off too much, but then again, we ran a lot of caution laps, so that probably helped. But quite frankly, I didn't really notice much of a difference between this race and the previous race that we ran here on the new configuration. But all in all, I think when we were green, we had some great racing, and obviously older surfaces provide that.
Series going to roll forward, obviously, at next week's time. Cup Series action back at LSRTV. 2 weeks' time, though, Chicagoland Speedway in the trucks. You guys planning on running that one as well?
Oh, of course, yeah. We're going to finish out the season with this Nature's Bakery, Bucky Birt Show, Bucky Birt Media, Pit Stops for Hope, Toyota Tundra. We still have a battle for Rookie of the Year. We actually made the chase, but then I got booted because of a penalty, so that was able to let someone else get in. So not racing for points, just racing for wins, and I think we can go out and hopefully get a win before this season's over, and if not, we'll come back next year and try it all in and go for a championship. But this Pit Stops for Hope team is going to be there and racing for victories in the next couple of weeks.
I know that we want to thank you, but I know the drivers as well have thanked you, sir, for being a big part of tonight's broadcast with the Bucky Birt Media and Pit Stops for Hope 125. Want to let you have an opportunity to thank those people that make it happen for you.
Yeah, of course. Want to thank Nature's Bakery. They knew nothing about iRacing until I brought the proposal to them. So they've been gracious to sponsor the sport that we all love of auto racing and NASCAR with Danica Patrick, and I'm just pleased to have them choose me as their driver. So I want to thank Nature's Bakery and also my personal investments within racing, the Bucky Birt Show that you can listen to every Monday night with myself and Ray Richer on Kinetic Hi-Fi, as well as on Facebook Live. We started doing that, and it seems to be a big hit. So that's every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And obviously the Bucky Birt Media, which is just some social media stuff that I do with promoting the show and my brand. So give me a follow on Twitter at Bucky Birt, and we can connect.
Bucky,
and also,
thanks for go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank LSRTV. You guys have been so great to the Domino's TYJ Racing League, and I'm thankful that you guys have given me an opportunity to be a part of the broadcast, and hopefully I'll be back soon up in the booth.
I want to thank you for sticking around and chat with us, Bucky. Again, congratulations. A solid result for you guys after the way things were looking early. We wish you the best of luck. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
It's your fourth place finisher tonight and driver of the number 25. Bucky Birt rounds out your top four finishers from Phoenix. Tyler, that does it from Avondale, Arizona. Chicagoland in 2 weeks' time. Still 4 chase races to go and still 15 drivers to dwindle down.
Yeah, and Chicagoland is a beast of its own, a 1.5-mile racetrack, starting to get very bumpy due to its age of the pavement there, and you always got to watch out for that transitioning from the banking on the front stretch to the apron there, so anything goes in 2 weeks' time for the Truck Series.
And we hope that we see you right back here on LSRTV next Thursday night for Cup Series action, and then again in 2 weeks' time from the Chicagoland Speedway as the chase for the Domino's TYJ Dented Fenders Truck Series Championship continues from Joliet, Illinois, at round number 11 from Chicago. That race and every race can be found right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. You can find a full upcoming broadcast schedule on our website at www.livesimracing.com, and that includes LSRTV Night on iRacing Live. Check out the United Sim Racing Truck Series right here this coming Saturday. That's it again. More right here on your home for live sim racing action, LSRTV. Until next time, I want to thank all of you for tuning in on behalf of everybody on the team at LSRTV LLC and for the broadcast team tonight. For myself, Evan Pasoko, on behalf of Tyler Herr and our producer, Cisco Scaramuza, I want to congratulate your tonight's winner, Curtis Young, for yet again another trip to victory lane, racking in win number 6 on the year. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time from Chicago, back here on iRacing Live and on LSR TV, the voice of sim racing. Good night.
This copyrighted broadcast is presented under the authority of LSRTV LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations and may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form, nor the accounts and descriptions of this event disseminated in any way without the express written permission of Live Sim Racing TV. LSRTV would like to thank its loyal fans for their continued support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.